It's been a while since I've, said much of anything to YouTube, so I did want to actually go on camera and let you know that I'm still alive. So I know that that won't please all of you, but it is what it is. The thing is that my city here in Portland has been pretty strongly bombarded for the last couple of years with a lot of drama that's been playing out in the international media, and I'm not talking about like Portlandia. I'm referring specifically to the fact that there are all these protest movements that have been deliberately designed to pit the left against the right in my city. And what frustrates me and irritates me to no end is Joey Gibson and Patriot Prayer and the Proud Boys and all these other organizations that are in the city. They frame themselves the way that they have, and then they come up with the most absurd defenses. Like, you have this Japanese guy saying, like, I'm a member of Patriot Prayer and I'm not a white supremacist. I couldn't be because I'm Japanese. And I'm like, how does that follow? Like, I know that it would be looked down on or received poorly if by the black community if I were to use the term, especially as a white person completely on social media that I'm thinking of here. But let's just say that, the black community has had a way of pointing to members of the groups that they consider to be too subservient to the white masters, if you get my drift. So I don't understand how it follows that your group couldn't be a white supremacist group because it's got, Mexicans in it. It's got, a rainbow coalition of dipshits in it. It doesn't really prove anything, really, to me about it not being a white supremacist group. But, regarding the Proud Boys, they've run around and they've called themselves Western chauvinist for as long as they actually have, and it's been pretty delicately explained to me that what they're referring to by the West, by the West, by the East that they're up against is basically Western Europe. That's what they're trying to say that they consider themselves superior to, and us, those of us who are intellectually awakened enough to actually feel a sense of glittering envy for Scandinavia, for Norway, for Denmark, and that region of the planet, we're and the people who live there, who are some of the happiest people on the planet, because a generous welfare state, goes pretty hand in hand with happy people. I talked to a college student using Interpals from that part of the world recently, and she was traveling, and I asked her, how is it that how is it that you can ever really afford to engage in the kind of traveling? Because I'd love to do it myself. And she told me pretty frankly that the government pays her to go to college. I mean, in the United States, those policies would be thought of and called socialism, and a lot of people would just shout it down. Like, I know that the United States has been moving in a more progressive and open-minded direction of lately, because there's a lot more people like me that are speaking up and saying what we really think instead of just kind of hiding it. But the last couple of years and everything America has gone through has made me really seriously question whether American exceptionalism is even valid, especially and after witnessing battle in the street after battle in the street after battle in the street in the United States with this grifter, really. I mean, I know that the rest of the country, it has fond feelings for the leaders of Patriot Prayer and the Proud Boys, but to us here in Portland, it doesn't fucking matter how you guys see them. We don't care how you feel about them. How we feel about them is how we feel about them. You know, you might love them, we fucking hate them. And the thing about these two pieces of shit that formed the Patriot Prayer and the Proud Boys is that they were out of towners who were never from they were never from Portland at all. Myself, I left for a very long time, but eventually came back to the Portland area. and I've been back since roughly 2012. And that's in the metro area of the Portland community, not obviously in Portland itself. I'm not really willing to disclose the rest of the details to you, but you know, I was very receptive to Sorkin's rant in the newsroom about the United States not being the greatest country on earth anymore. I, for the life of me, was not convinced by Stephen Counter's, defense of the United States that it being freer than every other country, or that, it having freedom, it had freedom in a way that nobody else had freedom. Even if those countries are free, they're not free in the way that America is free, is basically his argument. And I don't care. I mean, and the biggest reason why I don't care about his argument is look how people use their freedom in the United States. They're using it to refuse to get vaccinated, to go on spring break without wearing masks, to try to invade public businesses without using masks, to even in the midst of COVID-19, and to pretend that they're being oppressed because they're being told that they can't enter the building without wearing a fucking mask. I mean, this is the kind of shit that we have to deal with in the United States. You're not talking about freedom anymore. You're talking about freedom to be stupid. Freedom. That's what you're really advocating in a lot of ways, and that's exactly what Steven Crowder seems to be so fond of. Nobody's gonna push me around and make me wear any goddamn mask, and it's like, dude, I hope you get COVID and die anyways. We don't really fucking care. I got to be honest. If it wasn't for the fact that Steven Crowder being a carrier was a danger to pretty much all the rest of us that need to get vaccinated, I'd be like, you know what, more power to you. Hope you die of COVID, motherfucker. I don't want more of you. I don't want you to survive. I want more of me and less of you. To be frank, and to the internet and its love affair with this asshole, like, you might think that he's the competition to me, especially as a big fan of the Young Turks, which was, kind of obvious my affiliation for this particular group very early on, in my time here on YouTube, because I was always so defensive of them. The thing that just absolutely astonishes me is that, the rest of you seem to want to come into the videos and be like, Steven Crowder's the competition to TYT, and they're just trying to drag him down. And it's like, dude, no, that's not an accurate portrayal of reality at all. The people that are watching him, that are watching, saying, we have no interest in consuming right-wing media. Like, the right might have things that it wants to say about things, but we're dead to them. We don't care about their contribution to the discussion. I pretty much gave up a long time ago about debating them anyways, because I realized that they were making their decisions from a fundamentally emotional place, and that there was no really reaching them. They're going to do what they're going to do no matter what the facts and evidence tell them to. You can tell, because look at Fox News, look at the crowd there. I mean, like, they rebelled the moment the election was called for Biden. They're all on Newsmax now, clinging to this QAnon conspiracy theory and false reality, you know, that just doesn't exist or have any basis in reality at all. I mean, and this is so much of my frustration with this country, and it's just, we don't have a problem in the United States with people that are misinformed or ignorant. We have a problem with people that are willfully misinformed and willfully ignorant. I mean, these people, they don't want the truth. They want somebody to get up there and lie to them. And the election of Donald Trump in such a huge way was pretty strong and resolute proof of that allegation about America, because the Rust Belt had rotted out, the manufacturing jobs had disappeared, and the coal country was falling apart because natural gas was barking up its tree, and you know a politician came along and told them all that he could restore their jobs, when in reality he couldn't. And what they do, they voted for him over the politician that was Hillary Clinton, that made the dumbass mistake of selling those people on the truth that they were going to put a lot of coal miners out of business, because they heard Hillary's words, and how did they receive them? Me and my campaign, when I get to office, are going to enact a bunch of policies that destroy the coal industry, is how they received it. But what Hillary's point actually was it doesn't matter which of these two candidates actually win. This nation is going to put a lot of coal miners out of business either way. So I'm the only one between the two of us that actually has a policy to diversify the Appalachian economy in order so that those people can actually have jobs in some other industry, because the coal industry isn't going to survive. And what exactly has transpired? Coal is still in decline. After 4 years of Donald Trump, he kept absolutely none of his promises to bring those jobs back. And if he did create even a single job in the coal industry, it was nowhere near what he had promised to deliver. So he far short of expectations for the coal miners. There are still tons and tons of unemployed former coal miners out there. Tons of them are suffering from black lung disease at this point, and promises have been broken and have failed to be fulfilled as wind turbines go up left and right, and electric car panels are installed all over the place. You know, this is what frustrates me, though. I have lost a sense of American exceptionalism. I don't believe the United States is the greatest country in the world. And when Joey Gibson and, you know, these other groups came forward, and the Proud Boys, and called themselves Western supremacists, they were going to Western chauvinists, they were going to run afoul of me either way. Because to me, it's not is are the people that are behind these groups, are they racist? Are they bigoted against a race of people? Or do they just want to sell us all on the myth that America is better than Europe and Western Europe? You know, my feelings about Western Europe should probably be fairly transparent in that I am, well, not exactly Western Europe. I'm definitely dating somebody from the Eastern Bloc. But yeah, I welcomed Eastern Europe into my bedroom. So, what else is there to say? I have big love for Europe. I don't like the country I come out of. And I know that that sentiment is going to be dealt with by the majority of you by, well, if you don't love America, why don't you just get out? The truth of the matter is that I feel very strongly that, in spite of my dislike of this country, the kindest thing I could do for it is to try to make it a better place. The problem, unfortunately, you know, in such a huge way with the love it or leave it argument, is that it's just not that easy. Leaving your country of origin, especially at a time in which immigrants are demonized all over the world and nationalist sentiments are resurgent, is not easy. If one were able to just pack up their bags and leave, one probably would have left about 20 years ago. And you might say that with me talking about how it's a big deal to have to engage in a 4 year education to actually even begin to get out of here, you may be thinking if you had done that 20 years ago, you would already be gone if you had started in that direction. But the thing is that it was just always too much to ask for. You know, getting out of America is actually more trouble than it's worth. As much as I don't like it here, it seems that, I stay here because it's convenient to stay here. And there are things about this country that, in spite of my contempt for it, are enjoyable. It's not like it's a clear cut, absolute disgust and despise and hatred for America. I mean, it's not really that simple. It's just that I don't like the right wing tilt of this country. I find it to be excessively conservative, excessively afraid of change, um, to manufacture paranoia, to have a lot of conspiratorial thinking, to be subject to a lot of, how do I put this, apocalyptic thinking, to catastrophize, to think in a direction that says that we can burn it all down and that we should burn it down, because then we can rebuild from the scrap heap, you know. And that mentality is, very rampant in the United States, where they have a way of, very often in politics, you will see that there's a solution that improves things, but somebody else will come along and say, look, there's this perfect alternative that is stars and bars superior to the thing, but it's not politically achievable. You know, really, at the end of the day, that's really what the weight argument is. But the perfect will always end up being an enemy of the good, and that is a consistent theme in American politics. You've got a better solution than we do, but if your solution isn't politically viable, what does it matter? Like, and that's my frustration, is that there's a reluctance to embrace any form of marginal progress on much of anything, at all, that because there's always this perfect alternative that exists in another direction, and yet is completely politically unviable. So no, I mean, I'm feeling strong feelings of resentment towards patriotism. I'm feeling strong feelings of resentment towards American exceptionalism, and I've pretty categorically rejected American exceptionalism as an ideology. I do not feel the United States is the greatest country on earth. I mean, it's as simple as that. You can take it or you can leave it. You can get pissed off at me and tell me how could you if you're actually an American yourself. But that's just how I see it.